Today, we're going to be looking at strategic portfolio management and how you can use the OpenText software and solutions to manage a portfolio of sustainability initiatives. Sustainability has become a big business topic recently, reshaping organizations around the world and across every industry. Corporate sustainability creates value by addressing the needs of the environment, social, and financial systems in the context of how a business operates. Companies are looking for a better way to be more transparent to the shareholders and their customers and their employees about these practices. Support for corporate social responsibilities and to ensure appropriate governance practices are in place. Well, ESG is a term that's used very regularly, and it really has evolved from business sustainability, and it stands for environmental, social, and governance. The main difference between ESG and sustainability is that ESG sets specific criteria to define an organization's environmental, social, and governance systems as sustainable. It allows the board and the company leadership and the management to consider perspectives from different stakeholders and relevant stakeholders' perspective and provide them with the appropriate information. Environmental criteria. It really examines how a business performs as a keeper or a steward of our natural environment, looking at landfills, carbon neutral, reforestation. Social criteria look at how a company manages its relationships with its people, not just its employees, but its suppliers and its customers, and also the communities around that organization. And the governance criteria really scrutinizes how an organization makes decisions, its policies, and who is accountable for those policies, and how transparent they are about what is happening across the organization. And what we want to look at today is the context of that ESG perspective and how OpenText solutions can be used to help an organization digitize that journey, digitize that information. Now, speaking to a lot of different companies, a lot of different businesses, when it comes down to the requirements around digitizing your strategic plan, now I'm going to use one here called Net Zero, and the Net Zero strategic plan is based around the OpenText, our own OpenText requirements. And when we're talking to organizations about what's required and what they want to do and what they need to capture and understand, essentially they're looking at initiatives and projects that are in progress, so the pipeline of work. They're looking then to be able to align that work to the correct strategic themes and guardrails, ensure that they capture and track the business goals and the KPIs and OKRs associated to that data, and then also take that information from an organizational perspective, it's sort of hierarchical structure, and then run scenarios and what if analysis against that data and make decisions based on the information that has been captured previously. Now, within OpenText, we have a product called PPM, which is essentially a platform of these integrated capabilities around work, strategy, portfolio, project, resource, finances, etc., that captures that type of associated information. It is a dashboard-driven tool that we're going to see in a moment and can be utilized in public and private clouds and has very, very flexible architecture, allowing the data and the business processes that each organization utilizes to manage any portfolio of work, but in this instance, it's sustainability or it's ESG portfolio of work, define the processes and the data forms to meet their specific needs and specific requirements. Because again, everybody will work slightly differently, capture slightly different elements of data, and have different stage gates, approvals, and steps throughout their own individual processes. And the PPM product really is about working from the low-level project data up through the programs of work and up into the portfolio levels, really looking at this top level where portfolios are around the strategic alignment of the work within those portfolios, the whole concept of no longer just doing things right, but actually making sure that we're doing all of the right things. And for any portfolio of work, this is key. And the same applies with any ESG or sustainability, corporate citizenship, another terminology utilized, any of those types of portfolios. It's key that we get the right mix, the right strategic alignment of the associated work. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive into that product. We're going to dive into the PPM tool and actually take you through just a couple of quick examples of how we would utilize PPM to capture that data and analyze that associated information. So I'm just going to use my demonstration version of PPM here. And I said it was a dashboard driven tool. So I'm logged on as one of my portfolio managers here. And you can see that I've arrived on my portfolio management overview page where I've got a visualization, a bubble charting around the portfolio of work, mapping the risk against the value. I've got some financial summaries of where I'm spending my money associated to strategic themes and business objectives. And also I've got some cues here of potential pieces of work that are coming through the different mixes of portfolios. And if I go to the dashboard area here where I can have as many dashboards as I require, I have one set up. I've got it called as my green dashboard, could be my sustainability, my ESG dashboard, whatever you require. And you can see that I have a visualization of initiatives, pieces of work that are coming through the pipeline that maybe I should be looking at from a portfolio perspective. So if I click on the open menu item, go into the portfolio management area, and I said that PPM supports any types of portfolios within the system. So I've got product portfolios, application portfolios, project portfolios, and at the top here you see I have one called corporate sustainability. So this is my sustainable or my ESG portfolio. And if I just open this up, the first visualization that I get is the structure down the left-hand side where I have my top-level portfolio and I have my hierarchical structure below where I have my ESG items defined or structure defined. And over on the right-hand side, I have an overview of the pieces of work in the portfolio, where I'm spending my money and investments by strategic themes, by guardrails. And you can see that for my net zero portfolio, we've actually broken those down into zero barriers, zero compromise, and zero footprints. And this is, again, in alignment with the OpenText terminologies to support its net zero structure, net zero strategy. And within PPM, I then have these number of tabs along the top of the screen. I have 4 core elements that I can get to: my overview, my graphical visualization of my portfolio, my strategic alignment, the backlog of work, and the financials, the monies associated to it. And if I just click on the backlog area here, it will load my portfolio for me, and you see that I've got a whole list of work that's part of my corporate sustainability portfolio. And I have the capability to go and view this data in a variety of different formats and structures over on the right-hand side of the screen. I can select any of the columns that I wish to have on display from here. Those columns, I can then scroll along and see all of the data about every single piece of work. I can see the type of work it is, whether they are projects or programs or assets or proposals, ideas, epics, whatever it is that's coming through the system. I can group the data, I can filter the data, and I also have these different visualization icons on the right. So if I want to see things from a hierarchical structure, where I maybe put it in the hierarchy of sub-portfolios, programs of work, or I might want to see things in a board view if I'm more of a Kanban type of layout visualization person, and I can see broken down by my zero barriers work. There's my zero compromise and my zero footprints. And I also have a status view or a time-based view, a roadmap type of view, so I can see all of the work that's going on in my sustainability portfolio over a period of time. And you can see where we are now, the milestones that have been achieved, those that have been missed at this point in time, how complete individual pieces of work are based on the shading. And for all of these views and visualizations, I can just hover over any of these items, click on the link itself, and go and look at the details of the piece of work that was sitting behind it. Now, if I just jump all the way back to my dashboard, back on that green dashboard visualization, I have this piece of work at the top called the 4-section corporate waste stations. Now, if I open this up, go and have a look at the details that are sitting behind it, you'll see that this is a proposal. It's an idea. It's a potential piece of work they're going to deliver. And it's a government-driven initiative where they're using these new 4-compartment waste management stations that can be at all the meeting points and the coffee points in all of the offices for this company, where they can strip out the paper, the cardboard, the plastic, the food matter, etc., into the different components and different areas, enabling greater recycling and therefore reducing waste and reducing landfill. So it seems like a great idea, a great potential piece of work. And I can go in here and I can review the financial data. I can look at the cost information about this piece of work. I can look at the components to the cost. I can look at the benefits that are being driven from here. I can review the resources that are required, any linked and associated documentation, review any of the notes, and look at the core information that's been captured so far. And now let's assume that I've done all of that. I've reviewed the data, read all the documentation, and decided that this is a really good idea and something that we should investigate further and potentially work upon. So I really want to now start looking at including that into my portfolio. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump back to my sustainability portfolio, back into the backlog area. If I look at this list view where I have all of the different component items or pieces of work listed down, I can go to this area here for the add, and I can go and look at what's called the candidates list. And from here, I will see all of the potential pieces of work that aren't part of my, or currently part of my, sustainability portfolio. And I can go and select one, in this case, the 4-section corporate waste stations. And I can just click on OK, and I can add that into my portfolio of work. So it now becomes part of the mix with all of the other elements in the portfolio. But one core element has changed. If I go and open this up here, and we did this earlier from the front dashboard page, but I now have a new tab available to me for this piece of work. And this is the strategy tab. And this now allows me that because I've made it part of this portfolio, I now have the ability to select from the strategic themes associated to that portfolio. So it's part of corporate sustainability. And I'm going to say that this is all about zero footprint. And if I click on zero footprint, it will say these are the 4 KPIs we're tracking for zero footprint. These are other KPIs in the portfolio. We're ignoring these. These are about zero compromise or zero barriers. So these are my 4 zero footprint. And it's not really about CO2 and reducing the emissions. This really is about the total waste generated in metric tons and how we're going to be able to improve that and reduce that. And I've already got one set here where you can see it's defined that I'm going to reduce the amount of waste by 10 metric tons on completion of this project. Now I can edit that and update that. Maybe I want to change that and make that 15 metric tons. But whatever data I provide in here, once that's saved against that piece of work, when I go back to my portfolio, if I now look at my strategy tab, And this is where I get in the visualization to say, well, for all of these different strategies that are part of, or strategic themes, part of corporate sustainability, we see down the bottom here, zero footprint, where we're looking to deliver zero waste landfill from all of our operations by 2030. Currently, target for zero, we're currently at 47, which is down 8 from where we were previously. And there are currently 2 pieces of work contributing to it. And if I click on the item itself, you'll immediately be able to see there's the trend of the KPI. That's what we're trying to get to. And you can see that actually the 4-section corporate waste station and the marketing web portal are both impacting this particular KPI. So now I have a piece of work that is improving towards our target values on the top of the screen here. And for every piece of work within this portfolio, within this backlog, it is associated to one or more KPIs and strategic themes that it's supporting as part of its drive to deliver this sustainability portfolio. Now, I also have on here the financials area. Now, quite simply, with every portfolio of work, regardless of whether it's a sustainability or an IT portfolio or an application or product portfolio, there are always financial constraints associated to it. And from here, I have the ability to visualize all of my capital expenditure, as well as all of my operating expenditure that's part of this portfolio of work. And any of the budgets that I put in for, or the financial data I put in as part of the plan for the 4-section corporate waste station, which is some facilities operational costs, as you can see here, they have now been added into the overall budget for this portfolio of work. And I have budget management and budget allocation capability, so I can plan out this is what we have for the sustainability portfolio, and I can then allocate the funds down to the individual pieces of work that are sitting underneath it. Having now captured all of the data and all of my associated information about my portfolio, I also have over on the right hand side, and linking back to the slide at the start where we were looking at the ability to do scenario planning and decision making based on the data, I have an area called the what if analysis. And very simply, if I click on here, I can go and build and create as many different scenarios as I wish to do to understand the potential of what I can do with my portfolio of work. We've never got enough money to do everything that is being asked of us, but I can now create these different scenarios and mix around with the monies and the work and the timescales and the resources, etc., to try and get the best mix out of the portfolio that I have. And maybe I already have a budget that's tightly knit and tied down, but this 4-section waste station management systems seem absolutely fantastic and I really want to do them. So it might be that I need to move something out and bring something in and change the mix of work. So quite simply, I can click on the create function. We can call this the mid-2023 revision. And let's say that this is going to be from June this year till, let's just go for 18 months or something, out until December 24. We'll do it for the corporate sustainability portfolio. And I'm going to say that I've actually got 7.5 million as a budget for myself to be able to play with during that timescale. Now, it's also going to ask me which resources are going to utilize, which teams of resources you're going to utilize to deliver this. So let's go in and pick some teams out of the portfolio. Let's pick the AOS team. Let's pick people from the Asia team. And I've got a couple of others in here. There's the global team. And let's get some of the resources from one of our offshore teams. Let's go for the current year offshore. If I click on the create, it's then going to take all of the work that's in this portfolio to start with. It's going to then put the criteria of the date frame that we put in there, the 18 months. It's going to utilize the budget that I have, all of those resources, bring all of the availability of all of those resources to bear. and give me a single visualization view, which immediately tells me that actually I don't have enough money because they're asking for 12.5 million of work and I've only got 7.5 million available. So I've got a big shortfall. And also that I need nearly 300 FTEs of resources and I've only got about 265. So I can't do everything that's on display here. But what I can do is I can move any pieces of work from this area out of the mix. So let's take this program of work and immediately move that downwards into the bottom section, and then just go and pick 3 or 4 others out of the list. Now I've just randomly picked a load, as you can see there. Just move them out, and in doing so, I've now got enough money and enough resources. Now, in the real world environment, you would of course maybe sort these into a particular order, set rankings and priorities against all of these items, choose the columns that you wish to utilize, maybe linking and sorting by something like net present value is really, really key. And you want the ones with the highest NPV or the lowest NPV to be included or excluded. Whatever it is, you can define the mix of work that you want to put into the portfolio. And maybe there are certain things, such as in this instance, the 4-section waste station management piece that you want to include. And from there, I then have 3 additional tabs of information. And quite simply, this allows me to visualize the impact that the selected pieces of work have on the monies that you see on the right-hand side of the screen. And bear in mind that it's phased the money. I've got a 7.5 million budget. It's phased it over 18 months. So I'm actually, because I'm trying to do all of my work up front and all of the projects start early, I've got a slight overload on budget at the front end. And the same applies with resources. I'm trying to do everything too quickly. Maybe I need to move a couple of these projects out, start them a little bit later to try and alleviate some of the issues around resource availability. But those are worth looking at on a different day. What I'm really interested today is this strategy tab here. And this is now immediately telling me for all of the resources and all of the money that you're utilizing in this portfolio, this is the mix of where you're spending your money against 0 footprints, 0 barriers, 0 compromise, etc. And if I scroll down the screen, we see that these are all of the KPIs, and you can see under each of those pieces of work which projects are supporting the delivery of those KPIs. And if I keep scrolling down here, we can see that the total waste generated in metric tons, the KPI is being impacted by the 4-section corporate waste management system. This is the timescale of when this particular KPI is going to be delivered. And of course, the key element down here is to scroll down and not find any pieces of work where I'm not, or any KPIs where I have no pieces of work associated to it. I want to make sure that I've got a good spread and mix across all of my strategic themes and all of those KPIs and goals that I wish to deliver against. So if I come out of there, I'll go back to the scenario list. I won't save any of the data, but you can see that I have the ability to create and manage a sustainable portfolio of work, structure it out into my ESG areas, manage all of the different pieces of demand, epics, projects, programs, etc., that make up that portfolio, understand the financials for it, and most importantly, ensure and manage and track the strategic alignment of all of those pieces of work against the business goals and KPIs that we are trying to deliver. Now, one just additional thing that I want to have a look at. If I go back to my slides here, and it's this potential view, because we've just looked at a portfolio of work that was purely a sustainable portfolio. It was It consisted of pieces of work that were waste management stations, solar energy, wind farms, those types of things um, that were very specifically part of that portfolio of work. And I've put this one up because one of the key elements that PPM really allows you to do is to look at the world from a different perspective and different views. Um, and each piece of work or project, if you like, within the portfolio may be seen by different people for different reasons. Different, maybe owners of a piece of work or sponsors or different people at the exec level may have different KPIs and outcomes that that piece of work is delivering. And PPM allows you to manage all of that within this one tool and within this one area. And if I just go back across to the product, sorry, I just want to show you this as an example. And I'm going to go back to my dashboard, to the green dashboard we were looking at earlier. And we saw that, there was an initiative in there for this 4-section corporate waste station solution. But I've also got one down here called the ERP financial upgrade. And that's been passed across to me and put into my list of potential work. And very simply, if I open it up, this is a project that's already in flight. It's already running. It has its RAG statuses and its work plan and its key milestones and all of its monies and resources associated to it. But the reason it's been passed across to me is somebody has noted as part of this process, and if we look at the tab here for the notes, that this piece of work provides a modern online graphical user interface. Basically, the accounting department are going to upgrade all of their systems, and the ERP systems and the finance systems, and they're going to deliver all of their reports in real time using dashboards. So there are no more paper reports. And if there are no more paper reports, that means there's no more paper, there's no more or much less paper and much less packaging for all of that associated paper. And these are items that also find their way into landfill. But this is an IT project. This is nothing to do with sustainability, but it has an impact on those KPIs and those strategic themes that the sustainability team are supporting. So how do we handle that? Well, you can see here that if I go to strategy, this is already part of the accounting team. It's already supporting the strategic team to maximize the cost efficiency. It's already part of this portfolio of work. But let's go and open up portfolio management again, open up my corporate sustainability portfolio, dive into my backlog where I was earlier. And if I go and open up the candidates list again, and like all screens and all areas within PPM, I can use the search capability, in this instance to do the ERP text search to find the financial upgrade, to the standard project that's in flight here. And I'm going to pick this one and I'm going to add it to my portfolio, to the sustainability portfolio, because managing that team, being part of the ESG area, I'm seeing this as a different benefit and a different value to the finance team. So if I now open this piece of work back into that project view, and this time I go into the details area and I go and have a look at the strategy tab, I now have still maximize cost efficiency for the finance team, for the accounting team, but now I can also tie this to other KPIs. And this again is part of zero footprint. Again, this is going to allow us to reduce the impact of tonnage of waste that's been generated. So take this one out, just put a new value in there. Let's just say that this, I think the last waste stations gave us 15. So let's say that this is only going to give us a 6-ton reduction. There's my impact in there. Give that a save. And when that's updated, I can come all the way back up to my portfolio level, if I go to strategy now and I look at zero footprint and the zero waste from landfill operations by 2023, there are 3 pieces of work that are contributing to the trend on this item. And if I look at them, you can immediately see as I scroll down that yes, there's the 4 corporate waste stations that I put in earlier. There's also the ERP financial upgrade, and I can see the impact values just by hovering over these areas. I see 15-ton reduction from this one and a 6-ton reduction from this one. So it allows me to bring this work into my portfolio, even though it's nothing to do with a sustainability element, but because it has an impact to it, and my view is that it's beneficial to the portfolio. And it could be now that I go into the financials area and I go and allocate some of my budget. Say, well, actually, because you're helping me with this one, we're going to fund this much or a percentage or whatever it might be to help manage that portfolio going forwards. So hopefully that's shown you that the PPM product allows you to manage your strategic portfolios. They can be anything at all. Today's example was about a sustainability portfolio. And also those portfolios can consist of work that comes from all different elements of the business. As long as they're impacting the KPI that's important to you and the strategic theme that is important to you, you can bring them into your portfolios and help with the finances, understand the impacts that it has, look at it from a what-if analysis and scenario planning perspective, and make decisions upon the data that is available to you. Part of digitizing, in this instance, the journey to net zero. Thank you very much.